Hi guys, and in this video I'm going to be changing the brake pads on my Audi A3 8V. Where it's the rear and it's got an electronic parking brake, you have to use VCDS. Okay, so once you're in the car, because it's got this electronic parking brake, the first thing you need to do is actually, let's just put your foot on the brake, obviously, and then in here you want to turn it off, pull it back on, make sure it's on, and then leave it off. Take your foot off the brake and the car shouldn't roll, so make sure your car's on jack stands. You've put it in the first gear or reverse gear depending on what sort of land you're on. But yeah, once you've done that, you next want to load up VCDS. We just bring this brightness down a tad, that is better. We'll go into select control module. Some stuff might happen, ignore that music, it's not mine. Next go into number 303 ABS brakes. It's the 2013 model, so some have to go to parking brake, but on mine, the 8V, I had to go to ABS brakes. And then over here, once it's loaded up, you want to click on basic settings, and over here you want to go to the drop down and say start line and change mode. Remember, this will not work if you haven't cycled on and off the parking brake, so make sure the parking brake is off, press that, and then you should hear it when I press go, it like releasing the brakes. You also will come up with this sign on your dash, parking brake, you get those flashing symbols, nothing to worry about. It's just winding in the pin, so that way you can push the pistons in with a G-clamp or whatever you want to use. Finish correctly and just wait for it not running. Then you want to press done, leave it. Remember, just don't press anything else, go back. I like to come out, just leave it here, or you can come out of here, but I prefer to leave it here. Once that's done, all you want to do next is, with that sign on your dash, no problem, turn the ignition off. They do say to connect a trickle charger so your battery doesn't die, but my battery ain't gonna die because the car's off. And VCDS, I will unplug this cable from down here as well. Okay, so now we're in the back here. There's two things you need to remove first, which is one of these, so the cap to stop dust getting into your bolt there, one from the top and one from the bottom. So once you've done that, there's a 7mm Allen hex bolt that needs to come out. Some people like to bend this cable out of the way, use a ratchet so you get a nice extension, but then again at the bottom here there's not a lot of space over here, so I went to tool station and picked up these bad boys. So I'm just going to use the see you later. I'm just going to use the 7mm from here, that way I don't have to move anything or bend any brake lines too badly, and just loosen them both out. So just to make it clear, what I'm trying to say is, with this 7mm, if you put that in here and try and undo it, again, there's not much space in there. There's not much space at all due to this. Some brightness up here. You can see there's no space in here. I can just about fit my finger here. So if I'm going to put a ratchet in there, it's definitely not going to happen. Hence why you need to, grab one of these, so that way you can just pop it in here and loosen it out. When cracking these screws loose for the first time, make sure that you're in line with the car, so that way you're not bending the screw or anything, because if that snaps in there, you are stuffed. So when I'm doing this, make sure you're going to the right, so it looks like so I'm looking at the car, it looks like you're tightening it, but really and truly you're loosening it. So it's to the right, that's how you loosen. So out, put it back in, and then to the right again. Just keep working that till it's loose, and then undo it by hand, but you should notice that this part here should start coming out. Alright, so sorry, just a little tip. When I took, once I cracked it loose using the Allen bolt, I then got my little hex socket and I used this to twist, because it's much quicker to twist this than it is to go round and round using your finger on that Allen. So yeah, pop that back in, that 7mm, and just spin it till it's loose. As you can see here, it's out over here, it's loose, and the bottom as well, it's beginning to get loose. So just twist that until you can see it's fully cleared and it's no longer connected to this part. Next, what you want to do, you want to use your flathead screwdriver and just peel away this pad retaining clip. Alright, so next what you want to do is, using your flathead screwdriver, is be very careful, you don't want to damage anything, but place your screwdriver in here in a little gap and prise away the caliper. Just do it gently, both sides, so at the top and at the bottom, all you want to do is just want to prise away in here to get the caliper away. So it's very important to make sure you use the right brake on the right side. So as you can see, the part with the clip, whoops, move that. The part with the clip needs to go on the inside part of the disc, and the part without the clip needs to go on the outside. So you can see that brake pad's still in there on the outside, and the one with the clip here, oh god, that's bad, is on the inside. And you can see how dangerous that is. That's the part there, as opposed to this much. Let's try and get a lower view. You can see the difference now. The one on the right is the new one, obviously, and the one on the left is the old one. That's how bad it is. See, alright, so once you've copper greased up your pads, making sure that they don't rust, obviously, is next have a clean up of this area here. So get your wire brush or whatever you want to use and just have a little clean up of this area here, and then you're going to push this piston in. I believe you can just push the piston in using a clamp, or you don't really need to wind them back. Okay, so as you can see, we're all set up here. I've got my caliper going in, so again, when you're pushing this in, make sure that nothing's ripped or anything, and you want to push this back as flush as it can go. That way when you're putting the caliper back on, there's no problems. Tried winding this, and whenever I wind it, it doesn't seem to go in, so I'm just twisting this now, and as you can see, simply by me twisting it, the piston is actually going in. Okay, so that's how the piston should look. It should look flush. Next, what you want to do, you want to grab your brake pads, making sure you don't get any on the brake disc or on the front of the pad here, and just rest it in there. The grooves there are where it should fit. You can see right there is where it should fit. Right, so as you can see in here, we've now managed to get the brakes back on. We've not obviously got the brakes back on yet, but this part is flush on. As you can see, it's going to push against you until you get your caliper pins back in. So remember, you got to use your 7mm Allen, this little one down, oops, this little one down here to tighten them in. Also, just a little tip, because obviously it gets a bit tight in there, you can grab a grab a pliers, grab a pair of pliers, I don't know, and then just use that to twist. So simply just have it just on the edge of the socket in there, and just place it on there and use that to twist it in while you're supporting it. Okay, so as you can see, it's now gone back in. The pin is now flush, which is good. You shouldn't need a torque wrench or anything, because you'll know once you get to the end, because it won't go any further. There is going to be a little gap, so don't worry about that. That's obviously the gap for the piston to do its work. Next, what you want to do, you want to grab your, oh, it's a bit bright, you want to grab your retainer clip and make sure you push that back in. Remember, be careful, watch your eyes, you don't want to hurt yourself. So that's one side completely done. As you can see there, everything is back to normal, all greased up, nice and tight, nice and secure. Next, what you want to do, you want to do the other side. So obviously you want to always do these things in pairs, and then we'll go back in the car and do VCDS. Also, make sure you get your caliper things back on, because other than that, once you stick the tyre on, it might be a bit hard. Luckily, I've got big alloys, so I can just put my hand through and pop them back in. So once you get the ignition back on, you've got the message saying parking brake. You want to go back into VCDS. So yeah, you want to click on select control module, wait for that to load up. That will pop up again, ignore it. Who's listening?